So growing up, my favorite movie was Free Willy, and I watched it every night, and I loved it, and I cried every time, and I'm not ashamed about it. So if you don't know the movie, Free Willy is about these fishermen go and capture this whale, later named Willy, and bring him to a really small marina, and he doesn't like anybody there, so he's just kind of an exhibit. He doesn't do anything. And then there's this boy, Jesse, who's really young, and he's in and off the streets all the time, in and out of foster care, always getting into trouble. And one night, him and his friend are running from the cops, and they end up hiding in what turns out to be the marina. And so they start spray painting everything, just being dumb kids. And Jesse ends up getting caught, and his punishment is he has to clean the graffiti. So every day he has to go to the marina, so he spends a lot of time around this whale Willy, and they end up being really close, and he ends up being able to train him, which nobody else can do, so they have like a connection. So his first show comes along, it was a dud, sucked, so the marina owner decides to break the tank and drain it overnight and try to collect the insurance money, but Jesse saw him do it, so him and two other coworkers took Willy and freed him. So I love that movie, and I don't know why I cry every time, but I do. I actually watched it recently, and I cried in the first 5 minutes. But I understand that this movie is fictional, but it really foreshadowed an actual epidemic that's going on right now, and that is the mistreatment of whales. So that is why I believe that we should stop funding SeaWorld in order to save the whales. Another movie that's out there is called Blackfish. You guys can watch it, it's on Netflix. But it gives a ton of facts that after I watched that, I realized that I need to do some research on it. And so I did all this research, and it really laid out the law about SeaWorld. So these are the facts about America's favorite amusement park, SeaWorld. So whales need to swim at least 100 miles a day in the wild. 100 miles a day. So to take an ocean, or a whale out of the ocean and to put him in a tank is like to take us out of the ocean and put us in a bathtub. It's too small. So in SeaWorld's largest tank, a whale would need to swim 3,108 times back and forth in order to get just the minimum 100 miles a day. Whales also need to be between at least 100 feet below the surface. Most of the time they're 200 or 300 feet in order to stay away from the sun's harmful rays because they have really sensitive skin. And SeaWorld's deepest tank is 50 feet deep. So that means that the whales get sunburns on them all the time. So when you go to watch a whale perform, do you want to see them have burns all over them? No. So what does SeaWorld do? They put black zinc oxide on them. What is that? It's a chemical used to coat metal and make it black. So we are taking a chemical and putting it on an animal to make it aesthetically pleasing to the eye for money. And that's animal cruelty no matter how you look at it. And also the trainers have trained the whales to float on their backs while they go in and collect sperm and artificially inseminate a lot of female whales so that they can have more and more kids. And whales are very family-driven animals, so when they have all these kids, it makes it really hard for them to function. So, and also the trainers aren't really trainers. They go there to be performers, to perform with the whales, not to be biologists. So you would think that people working with these really big animals would have to know some kind of something about whales, but really they're just performers. So I understand that this is something that's kind of hard for us to kind of care about locally because the closest SeaWorld to us is in Pennsylvania or Florida. But we need to understand that whales are endangered, and according to the World Wildlife Fund, population has gone down 49% since the 70s. So what I propose is that we stop going to SeaWorld. We stop funding them and we stop feeding them exactly what they want, because SeaWorld will tell us whatever we need to hear just so that they can get our money and go see Shamu perform. So that's why I say it's time we question and take action and it's time to let the whales go home, but most importantly, it's time to free Lily.
Do they feed them bad stuff too?
Yeah, while they're performing, so like while everybody's there, they get really high quality fish. But it's said, and I don't have actual facts on that, so I don't know how true it is, but it's said that they are fed pig bones and like gross fish, like old fish, like when they're not performing.
Is this a problem with all whales or just a certain type of whale?
Well, SeaWorld has killer whales on for performance, so it's really the killer whale population that I was focusing on anyway.
You said free Willy, so would these, if we did free these whales, would they be able to function in the wild anymore?
They would be able to function because whales, because they're so family driven, they can communicate with whales that are even miles away, so they would be able to find a family almost immediately when they get back in the ocean. And they would kind of show them what to do and stuff.
Part of your claim, you mentioned something about we need to stop funding SeaWorld. Is that government funding or is that like us,
Like
public?
Like us personally, yeah.
Okay. Oh.
Well, you said if there was government funding, do you think they can make like the habitat bigger and they can have the necessary requirements for the whales? Or?
I mean, I think that would, because I get that SeaWorld is like a fun place, I'm not trying to like suck the fun out of everything, but if there was government funding to make the tanks bigger and better and have the whales in a more comfortable environment for them, then I think that it wouldn't be as big of a deal as